Hi, Eddie Traxler here. Back again. jazzchat.org. I'm sorry I don't have my screen back there today, but jazzchat.org. You can find some downloads. I've finally figured out how to get that stuff on. And then our past videos, too. And if there's stuff, feel free to make some comments, suggestions, or whatever. Maybe I will be able to get this live, too, while you can, watch and then ask questions on the fly. But for now, if you have questions or you have stuff that you would like for me to go over or not to go over. And I think I have a different approach to teaching rather than give you a whole bunch of pictures and diagrams, which I do give you some, and I'm going to go over some of that today. But I think you learn a lot more by figuring out these things yourself. Learning the notes on the neck and building chords yourself rather than getting, the Mel Bay 3,000 chords or whatever and looking them up. I mean, even if you were to play through the whole book from start to finish, you probably wouldn't remember too much of it. But learning to build these chords yourself. And I've talked about them before, the triads, and how I put those to use. So, we all learn, hopefully by now, if you're watching Jazz Chat, you're not just a beginner. But if you are, I have a beginning guitar method that I wrote, and that's free for download on jazzchat.org. You can download the whole book. It starts you with basic chords, and then it starts you with basic 12-bar blues. In my book, as opposed to a lot of methods out there, I teach you to read music, which I know there's a ton of great players that don't read. But for me, a lot of my pay and work is because I can read music. I teach at a university, adjunct faculty, and I teach in my own shop. And then sometimes I get calls to play with other instrumentalists besides guitar players, and I have to be able to read that, or any type of theater work or any of that stuff. I have to be able to read the notes rather than just tab or just chords. Some of it is just reading, chord symbols, but I gotta be able to figure out the chord because it's not always, that cut and dry. Like especially if it's super fast, like say if it were a C major 7 to maybe an E7 to maybe A minor D7 G. That's 1 3 6 2 5. I wouldn't want to move around too much, especially if it's really fast. So I got to figure out a way to do that where I can grab it. And it also depends on what the melody note is. If I can put that melody note up in top of the chord, it helps a lot. Whether I'm doing a chord solo or whether I'm just working with the singer, because sometimes the note will clash. So I did put those triads on the high 3 strings, which is what I use probably more of than anything. And a good way to practice those, to me, start with C, and we're going to play a C and an E and a G, which is a root position triad, Yeah, download that sheet on triads. It just gives you those 3. So with C, I'm going to start there. My next inversion, going up the neck, is E, G, C, which is almost like an F shape. I could do an F shape, but that would be a 4-note chord, but we're just doing the 3-note. And then G, C, E. So. And then if I do G, I'm going to start with this shape, which is that F shape. And I know I went over this a week or two ago, but I'm just kind of reiterating to go through a bunch of different keys every day with that, and you'll get them under your fingers. You know, do C, do G, G. Sorry, G is. It's the same three shapes. You're just playing them at different places. So think about those notes. And then we could do D. We could start with that shape that we already know. We do A. You could start with an open position one, you know. Or you could start here. And then, once you really get those under your fingers, maybe start learning them across the neck too. And that's if you look up Intro to Arpeggios in my book, it kind of is a brief description of this. You take those triads that you already know. If I take that G off there, I'm going to put it here. And then if I take that E off, I'm taking the note off the top and I put it on the bottom, the lower part. So that's they're just the C, E, and G triad. So those shapes. And then the next inversion, taking that C off, taking that one off, taking that one off. So to get those shapes under your fingers, you know what I mean? And then, do the minors, of course, too. The minors, they're on that triad sheet. But really start with the high three strings. That's the ones I use the most. Learn them that way in all 12 keys, and then learn them this way. Cool. And after that, we'll learn 4-note chords, like 7th chords. For now, the triads, the majors and the minors are kind of, enough to get you started. You can just think about it. If they want a flat 5 or something, we'll just flatten the 5th, minor, flat 5. So you can figure out those shapes yourself. Let me give you this really cool exercise. One of my teachers, when I first got to Berkeley, gave me this exercise. He said, "How well do you know the neck?" I'm like, "I don't know." So this is a really simple exercise that you can do to warm up, and it'll help you learn the neck. Just find the C on every string to a beat if you can. I missed one, so I'd have to go back. And then do G on every string, so C. G. And do that with every note, and you'll start to learn this neck. Sorry, I get a lot of allergies this time of year. It's October here in Massachusetts. It's like prime allergy season. So yeah, figuring out this stuff yourself. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit today about maybe some blues, because that's in the front of my book. And then to maybe start to bridge that gap between blues and jazz. Because that was I started out, like most people, playing blues, classic rock, or folk songs, Got more into jazz, learning these, 7th chords and stuff. But sometimes you hear jazzy blues, as opposed to just the plain old, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2. That's just a straight 12-bar blues in G. To jazz it up a little bit, we might take well, I can just show you some stuff. If you look at songs, well, they're not really. I can show you the chord progression, but I won't play the actual melody. If you look at, say, Monk's Straight No Chaser, is a 12-bar blues, but it throws in a lot of other chords besides, and it's in F, but well, I'll change it to G for this. That that way it won't be the same song. So this again, this is Band in a Box that I use a lot for tracking. All right, so what it does, we play the G7, and then we do the C7 in the second bar. So then we're back to G for 2 bars. Or my next chord is a C7 in the 5th bar, right? That I could 2/5 into that. So a 2/5 of C would be, a D minor to G7. So I could go, right, hear that? And you could 2/5 back to the G, which is, going to come in the other bar, which would be A minor 7, D7 to G. And then instead of just going to the 5 chord here, a lot of times we'll go like A minor 7, then maybe a 1, 6, 2, 5. In the key of G would be G, E minor, A, D. So let's try that with some extra changes, and you'll kind of hear, how I can treat that, and it sounds a little more jazzy. Practice those triads, right? Cool. So right there, the only changes I made, I'm going to the 4 chord in the second bar, and I'm doing the when I get to bar 8, I do a 2/5, B minor 7. I could use a B minor 7 flat 5 if I wanted, to the A minor. Kind of if you're doing a 2/5 of a minor, it's sometimes you use that flat 5. But if it sounds good to you, it's probably gonna sound okay to your audience. with or without it. So I'm just doing 2 beats a piece on the B minor to E7. Takes me to the A minor for 4 beats, and then the D7 for 4 beats, which is the 5 chord, and then the 1-6-2-5, which is 2 beats a piece. G to E minor, A minor, D. If I wanted to add a few more chords, bar 4, I can do a D minor 7th, to a G7, which it'll kind of just lead me a little better into that C chord. And the same thing in bar 6, I can do an A minor into that D7, which will take me better to the G. So let's hear that. See if you can tell a difference with the extra changes. Yeah, 2-5. Another 2-5. Cool, I'll stop it there. So that's just some added changes. And also another way to approach another chord besides the 2-5, you can chromatically or diatonically approach it. I could, instead of doing a D minor to a 2-5 of that C, I could walk up to it. Like that, if you wanted to. So which would happen in that bar 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, right? So let me see if I can program that in 2, just so you can hear it. So that'd be G. So I go G, do. You just have to make your beats come out right. That's so what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go G, and in Bandbox you use commas if you want one chord per beat. G sharp D is G sharp diminished. So what I'm gonna do, and then I'm gonna go A diminished, or I'll do an A minor there to an A sharp diminished. All right, now here's what that change. And I could walk back down to that, from that C. Like that, that would be C, B, B flat, A. That will take me to the G. Let me put that in there and see if you can hear that. C, comma, B, comma, B flat. And those would be diminished as well. If you go, C is the major, B flat diminished. Actually, we'll do a B first. Or you could say, what you would do is just say, like C, comma, C slash B, and then the B flat diminished, and then an A minor, and those are just one beat apiece. And really, when it's only one beat, it's not going to make that much difference. B flat to A minor. All right, so now let's hear that with walking up and walking back down to our target chord, which is the 4 chord. I'm walking up to the 4 and the measure 4. Play the 4 chord on measure 5, and then I walk back down to the 1 chord in the which comes back in the 7th measure. All right, so here we go. Let the band play it. You can hear 2, dun, dun. That's the walking line. Back down. And pretty much you can solo over the same, you know. Also, that 4, another option, you could just put a whole step at the first one, which would, instead of that G minor, and then in the, a B just would sound a little better. So, if you can hear a difference, I'll show you. So instead of that G sharp diminished, I'm putting the A minor on the 2nd beat, and then the A sharp or B flat, A sharp diminished. Yeah, that would probably lead a little better to the C, because you have the B on the last, and I would probably make that B a diminished too. Just because it's just a better leading sound to the C chord, if that makes sense. Let's put that in there, and still got our C7 in the 5th bar. So you probably won't be able to hear much difference. You just want to make sure everybody in the band's playing the same thing. C chord, back to G. Yeah, to me that sounds a little better than chromatic than the G sharp diminished. So yeah, the transition, if you've been a blues player and a rock player and you're transitioning into jazz, these are some things you can do to make yourself a little more jazzy sounding. There's also an even more complex. They call it bird blues, or a lot of people call it bird blues, like stuff that named after Charlie Parker, because he played stuff super fast, and he would be like sometimes all over the place in his blues progression. So if you listen to something like Blues for Alice, you can hear. I can show you without his melody because of copyright. I don't think Bird would mind, but whoever has the rights to it. So with the thing is, you can't play more than 8 bars of someone else's melody, or it's copyright infringement. But chord progressions are not. So Blues for Alice. This is in F, but I'll show you the chords. I can switch that to G just to kind of keep in mind, with the same key, you can kind of see what we're doing as far as if you wanted to analyze it. So, in this one, if I'm in the key of G, and I gotta hurry because I've only got 3 minutes. I was gonna go over some other songs too, but so I do the G, and then I'm doing an F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to a B7 to a E minor 7 to a D minor 7 to a G7. Some people call that continuous 2/5. So what you do a bunch of 2/5s, so you're on G, and that takes you to a C. Then you're gonna go. Then you do that again. You're gonna go. So I'll write these out. If you have a pencil and you want to write that down, the first bar is a G, right, or the 1 chord. Then I'm going F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to a B 7 flat 9 to an E minor 7, and these are 2 beats a beat. So the first chord's 4 beats. The second measure 2 beats a piece. F sharp minor 7 flat 5, B 7 flat 9. And I'll get you those. I'll tell you why they do that on another video. E minor 7 to A7 in bar 3, D minor 7 to G7 in bar 4, C7 in bar 5 for the whole measure. That's the 4 chord, and then C minor 7 to F in bar 6, bar 7, B minor 7 to E9, bar 8 is B flat minor 7 to E flat 7, and then bar 9, A minor 7 for the whole measure, and then D7 in measure 10, and then the 1 6 2 5 2 beats a piece, G, E minor, A minor 7 to D7. So just about out of time. I'll just play through it and we'll go out on that. Thank you for watching.